You know, when you listen to the media, it's easy to think that African succession is a lost cause, that there's no hope for Africans, and that there's something wrong with this black skin of ours that makes us immune to a succession process that works. And for a long time, I agreed with this particular opinion because of the nature of our own family business transition. And you know, I'd look at with admiration at Asians, at Europeans, and at other African families that didn't seem to have these kinds of problems. And in my heart, I believed that there was something terribly wrong with my community, with my family, and that is my parents, and with me. What I did not understand then, and what I didn't know, is that we were going through challenges that are common to family businesses all over the world. And it just so happened that our parents died relatively early. That's in the early 50s and early 60s, respectively, which brought forth the succession challenges and struggles that other families are now beginning to experience as their patriarchs and matriarchs pass on in increasingly quick succession. And I'm seeing, even you among my friends, an increasing number of individuals are now beginning to post the death adverts of their parents on social media. So what happened to us 32, 35, 37 years ago is now happening to you, as your parents now beginning to pass on. And in this regard, we must remember that we as Africans are children of very many worlds. We have an African heritage that we took on from our forefathers. We've been educated in the European education system that we have all gotten in schools that was adopted for another culture. And then we operate in a dominant commercial environment that governs every transaction that we make. To add on to this, then we are now in the midst of a second generation transition that is taking place in Africa, the largest since the colonial era. And it can be said for sure that African family businesses are now coming into their own. And there are important lessons to be learned. We must agree that there are other families, and there are families in cultures and different cultures that have gotten the succession process figured out because they've done it over and over and over again. But at the same time, the solutions that have worked for other cultures cannot be directly imported into an African setting. We, as Africans, must chart our own path that fits our worldviews and that fits our cultural realities. And with regard to this, even if other people have done things well, and it is true, and we must give them commendations for that, but we must also understand that what might have worked for them in their context will not necessarily work for us. Let's remember this, that what we call civilization, in terms of our Western culture, was imposed on us. Having our own cultural systems that were replaced by the Western model that we have now, a cultural system that had succession in mind, it had strategies for transitioning from one generation to the next, and that is now broken down. And in that review, in the view of that, we must acknowledge that there are things that can work for us as Africans. There are cultural settings that we must take into account. And there are structures that we need to establish afresh and anew that take into consideration the fact that we have these three environments in which we operate. So what do we do? I believe that we as African family businesses have a duty and a responsibility to create a model that works for Africa. And having seen the way social changes have taken place, with Kenya taking the lead in many of them, in terms of multi-party democracy, in terms of even independence and other aspects, I believe that we in Kenya, as family businesses, have a unique opportunity to set the tone for succession management in Africa. God bless you.